Hi guys, typical summer weather, therefore dressed accordingly. Right, moving on from a previous video on the single arm kettlebell swing, I'm going to go on to single arm kettlebell swing, swapping from one hand to the other. Before I start, I just want to talk briefly about the different types of kettlebell. The colour ones you can see on the left hand side here are competition kettlebells. I want you to notice, even though they're different weights, this one here is 16 kilogram, this one here is 12 kilogram, they're exactly the same size. So when we're learning to swing the kettlebell, the trajectory or the swing of the movement is going to be similar. Okay. Now when we move on to these other kettlebells here, you have a 24 and a 20 respectively. You'll notice they are different sizes. Okay, which means that the trajectory of the swing could be slightly different. So initially when you're learning the kettlebell, it's probably more appropriate to start off with the competition ones. They're much easier to use, and also you can spot, if you're teaching a class incidentally, who's got which particular weight of kettlebell. So it's a very useful tool. Something else I want to notice as well, it's like every other piece of equipment, there's advantages and disadvantages to them. Competition kettlebells, let's see, same size, also same size of handle diameter, whereas these, the heavier they go, the handle diameters get slightly thicker. So notice that, heavier I go, thicker handle, and obviously the cannonball's a little bit bigger. Now there's a disadvantage in some ways, because obviously they've got weak grip strength, that's not going to be a good thing. However, for developing grip strength, it's a very good thing. So as you get stronger, and for instance if you're climbing, you want forearm strength, it tends to develop it more effectively the wider handle that you have. So once again, it's another very good reason why you would perhaps considering using either or both in your workouts. The first thing I'm going to go on today then is just to quickly go over the basic kettlebell swing that we've done previously. So for this, I use a 16 kilogram kettlebell, which is this one here. And I'll just bring this to position. A 16 kilogram kettlebell is normally what you'd expect a reasonably well conditioned adult male to operate with. But one of the big things when you're operating with a kettlebell, in fact any other piece of fitness equipment, a barbell in the gym, dumbbells, etc., it's best to park your ego and make sure you can pick up a weight and you can handle a good technique. Because as long as you're consistent, over time you will get stronger, you will get fitter. So first thing I do is just quickly remind you of the basic technique for swinging, and then we'll move on to slightly more advanced techniques. So first of all, basic technique. Knees slightly flexed, back, chest high, over the kettlebell, bring it up here, and then just gently swing it back and forward, engaging. Let the kettlebell settle to a halt, and then I bring myself back up. Notice my back was flat, and I was driving through the hips to propel the kettlebell forwards. Okay, now from the front, so you can see, the thing is I want you to notice here how I bring the thumb in, it comes back out, and the kettlebell floats. At the top of the movement, I employ the technique as if I was pulling a lawnmower starting handle. I stabilise my shoulder at the top of the movement. Very important this, otherwise you tend to render yourself liable to injuries with the shoulder. So from the front then, same technique. Into position, gentle swing. Hips through, notice I'm using handle, other hand for balance. Let it settle, pedal. Exhale up I can. So there's a very basic technique for swinging the kettlebell. Now I'm going to show you what we call the hike pass technique. Slightly more advanced, that launches the kettlebell into a very strong position so you can immediately employ the hip hinge. Okay, but as I say, make sure you've mastered previous techniques. So watch what I do here. Bring the kettlebell forward, little distance away from my hips, flex your knees slightly, send the hips back, chest forward, back. Now the thing I want to notice here, I want to line up the angle of the kettlebell with my arms. So you can see here, I could probably go back just a little bit further. Chest up, slight flexion knees, and I'm loading my hamstrings. Arm for balance, watch what I do. From there, there it is then, single arm kettlebell swing using the hike pass technique. What I'm going to do now is move swiftly on to the hand swap from one hand to the other. Once again, I must emphasize that you have mastered the single arm kettlebell swing before you attempt to do this. Notice as well, we're doing this outdoors, so if it goes horribly wrong, you can propel it towards the lawn rather than your granny's best bone china. Watch this. Watch the technique now, the hand swap technique. We'll do this from the front. So I'm going to use the hike pass. I'm going to use the hike pass technique to get going once again. Into position. Line at the kettlebell. Line of the arm. Back, chest up. Hamstrings engaged at the stitch. Arm for balance. And here I go. And swap. Okay, that's from the front. I demonstrate from the side. Once again, if the coaching points, I want you to notice how I brace at the top of the room, stabilise the shoulders, back engaged, abs engaged. In such a way, I'm almost bracing against an imaginary punch to the stomach. Okay, so here we go. On the side. There you go. Single arm kettlebell swing, transferring from one arm to the other. I haven't done very many already, worked out a little bit of sweat. So this is quite a high intensity exercise. Obviously I don't want you to bore you too much with physics, but if you look at Newton's second law, force equals the mass, in this case the kettlebell, and acceleration, how quickly you bring it forward in a set direction. So the harder the swing, the more intense the exercise. And obviously, if you increase the weight, it becomes even more intense. Now, one of the advantages of high intensity exercise like this is we have a phenomenon called exercise post-oxygen consumption. And what that kind of tells us, in basic terms, is your metabolic rate is still working quite hard even after you finish the exercise. So obviously for things like weight loss, this is a fantastic exercise. Whereas we just go for an easy jog and you stop, the minute you stop, your metabolic rate comes very close back to your resting metabolic rate. Whereas with kettlebells, when you stop, you find you're still burning calories post-event. So for this reason alone, it's a fantastic exercise. Also, it's extremely good for conditioning the posterior chain of the body. We've always been dragged forward into flexion all day long, so this type of exercise brings it into extension. Now, if you happen to be a climber or a cyclist or anyone who's always been dragged forward into position, this type of movement should be part of your repertoire on a regular basis. And that will also help you protect from overuse injuries. So there you go, the basic kettlebell swing. Single arm swapping, two different types of techniques to swing the kettlebell as well. Hopefully advancing on to high pass technique sooner rather than later. Now, if you have any doubts whatsoever about using the kettlebell, make sure you get GP clearance, and once again, if necessary, get some instruction. Now, my advice for people who want to build up a reasonably good regime for this piece of equipment is practice so you can comfortably do 10 swings on each arm, swapping from one arm to the other. Then perhaps have a minute's break, and then do another 10 swing on each arm, another minute's break. Will eventually build up to 100 repetitions in total, 100 repetitions in total. After that, as you get fitter and your technique's absolutely flawless, which is essential here, start considering dropping the recovery times, i.e. go for a minute to 50 seconds, down to 40 seconds. So eventually, over time, you'll find yourself, especially as your technique improves and you're using less effort to perform the same movement, you're able to produce 100 kettlebell swings all the way through non-stop. By that time, believe you me, you've had yourself a hell of a workout. Okay, so what I suggest is to go away, give this a go, enjoy.